And National Marriage Week is currently, I guess, in progress right now. And Sheila Weber is the Executive Director of National Marriage Week USA from February 7th to 14th each year. There's this new collaborative effort to elevate marriage as a national issue and provide a clearinghouse of resources for marriage. And Sheila, a pleasure to have you on the program this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I grew up in Holland, Virginia, went to Mountain View Elementary School, but I live in New York City now, so it's great to be talking to you.
Well, good to have you back in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains.
Yeah, I love it there.
How did you happen to become the Executive Director of National Marriage Week?
Well, my background is as a journalist and in media relations, and so there were some folks in the marriage movement who've been very concerned for a long time, and we work with research organizations, and discovered that there's an international movement of Marriage Week in 12 countries around the world, in the UK, Germany, Australia, and elsewhere. And so we just last year launched a United States effort for Marriage Week, which is the week leading up to Valentine's Day, February 7th to the 14th. And so what we've been able to do is generate hundreds and hundreds of classes and conferences all across the country for the week leading up to Valentine's Day. And we want to get the word out for people that there's a clearinghouse now of classes. They can go and plug in their state and find something in their state near them. Or we just have ongoing resources. There's so many wonderful groups that provide year-long seminars and classes. But National Marriage Week is a great time to launch something. So even next year we might discover that some of your listeners care enough about this that they want to bring a conference to your area or launch a class at your library or community center, and then you can post it for free. We definitely want to get the message out that marriage is valuable. It is tremendously beneficial, because there was a recent cover story somewhere questioning whether marriage is obsolete. And our answer to that is no, because research shows that marriage brings financial stability and greater wealth to individuals, that people live longer lives, they have better health, and most importantly, that children who are raised by both the mother and father perform vastly better in school, have less trouble with the law, less teen pregnancy, and fewer issues with addiction. So marriage is healthy, it's good, and it pays. And in these economically difficult times, there's another reason to be concerned, because family breakdown, divorce, and unwed childbearing is costing the U.S. taxpayer at least $112 billion a year. Some estimates say it's more than $200 billion a year.
Wow.
It's something we have to be concerned about, and we cannot be that cavalier about our 50% divorce rate. And this is a shocking statistic. Not many people know that 40% of all American babies today are born outside of marriage. 40% of our babies.
Yeah,
I mean, it's shocking, really. I don't think most people realize that. And unfortunately, the U.S. taxpayer is picking up the cost for a lot of these issues of our 50% divorce rate and the high out-of-wedlock birth rate. So we just believe that everybody needs to work together, and we need to help our friends and neighbors and family if they're struggling in their marriages, and you need to go and work on your own marriage, too.
And one of the things that had always been assumed for a long time was that marriages within a church setting, the divorce rate was a lot lower. But from what I understand, the statistic has kind of changed, and this is a problem for not only.
Yes, well, unfortunately, the culture has influenced the church more than the church has influenced the culture, And although there is still an interesting statistic that of couples who pray together daily, that only 1 out of 1,000 couples gets divorced if they really have a serious daily habit of praying together and having a devotional life. So I think it has to do with the level of seriousness with which you approach your faith and your marriage. I mean, if you see marriage as a covenant, then why wouldn't you want to make it the best you can make it? Why wouldn't you want to make it pleasurable and happy and fun instead of let it deteriorate into becoming miserable? But what happens is that we see in modern days, we see marriage as a consumer relationship. If I don't like the product. I'm going to take it back to the store and get another model instead of a covenant. So we've kind of thinking of marriage as somewhat disposable, and that the only purpose for it is for our own personal happiness. So we have to kind of retool our thinking about marriage and also understand the tremendous benefits that it brings. Single motherhood impoverishes women, and there are huge statistics that almost the entire population of prison is a result of boys who grew up without their father in the home. There's another study that showed that girls whose father leave before they're 6 years old increase their chances of teen pregnancy from 5% up to 35%. So, we just need to realize that this is worth working at, and we need to, work at our marriages.
That, you make a very compelling case, and this is not, and I'm glad you're publicizing this, because it's not things that you hear in the public media, the public dialogue very much, and in fact, you certainly don't see a lot of this in motion pictures and television and so forth. It seems like marriage almost becomes a joke in a lot of cases.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all about us. I mean, we think that the only thing that matters is our personal happiness, as opposed to, we've got children to raise. Are we raising good citizens? Also maybe we need to work on ourselves. Marriage can be, if both people decide to kind of use marriage as a way to become better people, it's a good thing, but we don't usually think of it like that.
No.
But that's where marriage education really makes a difference. And my husband and I have worked with a lot of marriages under stress, and over our own 30 years of marriage, we know that sometimes the stresses are seasonal. You can be exhausted if you're raising young children, or in the teenage years you start to, have unusual stresses. But often when you get past those things, you come out on the other side of companionship and having the comfort of going into old age with the person that you've had your whole life with. People need to start seeing the end game, and they don't. Mm-hmm. They don't look at it. Particularly the baby boomer generation is just starting to go into old age, and they really don't understand how they have divided their financial resources, and sometimes they're just heading into old age without the companionship that they really want.
Yeah, I think that's pretty widespread and really true. And you mentioned that during this is National Marriage Week, and that there are a lot of resources that are available and things going on. Can you talk about some of the events and some of the resources that are available?
Sure. Well, we have hundreds of events across the country, and there are major marriage education groups, some of which have developed video conferences that are now in hundreds and hundreds of locations also. But aside from this week, which tends to be a launch week, there are things happening all year long, and we do list those resources and those places where you can go all year long. And we also have just fun tips and tools. So we have a couples checkup test that's discounted this week. We have the 5 love language quiz, which is free. There's an idea for how to have a great Valentine's date night. There's some love letter kits. So we have some fun tools and tips. We also have research, and we have recommended reading, but lots of places that people can go to, especially sometimes you're in crisis. There are groups that actually make themselves available for couples in crisis. So we want to be a clearinghouse so people can get the help they need. But you can plug in your state and see a whole list of activities that are happening in your state. You might even think of, maybe you have an in-law or family member in another state, and you'll find out that there's something in their town, and they might really be helped by going to a Friday night and a Saturday conference this coming weekend, kind of in honor of Valentine's Day.
Yeah, that would be great, and a good time to launch if your relationship needs a little bit of help. Valentine's Day is a really good day to start, isn't it?
Yeah, and also if your listeners really love this idea, this is a tremendous way to reach out to your community. And you can think ahead for next year and try to bring one of these conferences to your local library, your community center, or your church. We believe the church is a very natural place for helping provide marriage education, but sadly, only 28% of all the nation's churches offer any kind of marriage class. That's a pretty low number. We think that needs to increase. We think most churches are capable of providing some kind of course because there are some nice, handy video classes and workbooks. And so we would like to encourage people to take some leadership in this area and to serve others.
That is terrific. Sheila, I'm so glad you've been on the show this morning, and really like to keep in touch with you and have you back sometime. That'd
be wonderful. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing about National Marriage Week. We feel it's a tremendously important thing, and applaud what you're doing, and hope a lot of people will visit nationalmarriageweekusa.org.
Yes, and click us like on Facebook.